for joining our therapy podcast. We have a very special guest tonight, and he's going to give us some wisdom. But right now, I would like to ask Chris if he will read our disclaimer. Chris?
I think we need to mute a few people if you hadn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris, unmute yourself, please, and Dale and Gary.
There we go.
All right. LifeWave products are lifestyle and general wellness products and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. Always consult with a physician or other qualified healthcare provider before embarking on new treatment, product use, diet, or fitness program. All content is created and published online for educational purposes only.
Okay. All right. So what we want to do tonight is we have a very special guy. He is from Tampa. He's his wife is exhausted because, like I said the previous hour, behind every successful man there's an exhausted woman. And so, Barbara, we appreciate all the support you give him and keep him going and feeding him because we need his energy and wisdom. Okay. So, Gary, start from the beginning and tell us how you got involved and let us know what you're doing. And then maybe we can show them a picture of your car even.
Okay. You know, they've towed that car in 3 times this week, just to let you know. Okay.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah. But we're not, yeah. But I maintained, you know, my peace of mind. I said to Barbara, I handled that pretty good, didn't I? Yeah, because we're working on improving some things. But gosh, you know, I was thinking back to back to the early 70s, and I have always been interested in health. Don't ask me why. You know, we ate pizza, donuts, all the other stuff growing up at my house. I had a wonderful mother and father. My father was a cop in Baltimore County. My mother was a secretary and did things. And just to give you an idea of my view of my mother and father, I wrote in my father's eulogy, I wrote that my dad was a good man, make that a very good man. The sun rose and set on my mother. That's what I grew up seeing, was a man who adored this woman, my mom. And I think I've kind of emulated that in my years with Barbara. I tease her occasionally and I'll tell her, I said, you can't stop me from loving you. I don't care what you do. I'm not going to stop loving you. Okay. And she'll laugh. And, you know, it's just something that kind of came to me, and I, you know, divinely inspired. I don't know. But 50 years ago, I read Gaylord Hauser's book, You Are What You Eat. And I'm not going to claim that, you know, I then became Mr. Holistic on watching, you know. I remember I went to in Essex Community College. I'm originally from Baltimore, and they had Ralph Nader there. And believe it or not, he talked about the hot dog and the hot dog industry and the meat packing industry for a while. And I bet you I didn't eat a hot dog for probably 30 or 40 years after hearing Ralph Nader. It was just like, oh my, I mean, all the stuff and whatever. I started working out basically in the 80s, and I've worked out for probably, I'm guessing 40, 45 years. I started running again with the patches, and I'll give you the Superman story with that. But for us, and this is kind of, I guess, the part of the story that I'm hoping will help the new people, the people that have been here. LifeWave is truly, I believe, the greatest health and wellness product ever invented, bar none, the X39 being that particular product. And, you know, what for us, I got here this time pretty much with no warm market. What's a warm market? You know, people you hang out, people you do this, do church, whatever. And I had never had success in 50 years of MLM, direct sales, whatever you want to call it, going all the way back to Amway, Melaleuca, real-time pain relief, Zeke Rewards. It Works was the last one that I was in with Dr. Stacy and my sponsor, Gayla Wall. And you know, it was a health and wellness product. We still drink the keto coffee, and that's the only thing that we still use. But we'd make 100, or we got a cat that's, you know, kind of wanting in here. And anyway, we'd make, I don't know, $100 or $200. And I had a big following on Instagram, had almost 100,000 followers. And I was an influencer. And we just couldn't really seem to, you know, get things going. And for the life of me, I wish I could tell you what exactly went, you know, happened. But for whatever reason, this time around with LifeWave, I've been in sales probably for, I don't know, 40 years. And I've had a lot of success with different products. I know that I do better with tangible than I do with intangible. You know, if I can touch it, hold it, feel it, I can sell it. But you know, I didn't do real good with insurance. I didn't do real good with mortgages. And but I did very well with. I was a director of catering, Marriott and Hyatt hotels, and all of that. But I never really achieved, even with them, you know, the financial success that I would have hoped. You know, everyone, if you're in food and beverage and those business, the idea is to get to a general manager and, you know, make 150 grand there, or, you know, maybe 200, and, you know, work 50, 60, you know, 70 hours. And that's what I did for a long time, but I never got to that level. You know, for whatever reason, you know, I really, in that line of business, you kind of need a mentor, and no one really adopted me. You know, I don't know why, but it's just how it worked out. And because, you know, someone basically kind of carries you along. But when LifeWave showed up, we went to work, and I share this part of it. I had 5 superstars in the beginning. If God would have said to me, I'm going to give you 5 picks, who are they going to be? I couldn't have picked any better people. I mean, Jay McCorkle, Rennie Jessel, you know, and a couple of others. And Jay McCorkle, unfortunately, is no longer with us. His wife had a detox issue, and I said, Jay, she's just detoxing. Got off the patches, and unfortunately wasn't, you know, had a stroke and passed after a length of time. He was my best golfing friend. And he was the one told me I did better with tangible than intangible. So I really, really enjoyed his fellowship for a lot of years. So when we got started, you know, 6 months later, I think I either made manager or director. So I didn't come out of the gate like any, you know, rock star. Like I said, I was working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. I was doing in-home sales. And I share this. I remember coming home and thinking at 70 that there was an expiration date. I'm like, you know, like, hold on, how much longer, you know, am I going to physically go to work, you know, 10, 11, 12 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week? Because, you know, I always did, for the most part, what I had to do to put food on the table. We'd go on vacation once or twice a year. We'd go out to dinner once a week. And in my mind, that's kind of the American dream. You know, we're celebrating and things. And so that kind of hit me, and I thought, gosh, I guess I'll have to sell the house to pay off the mortgage, the first mortgage, the second mortgage, the credit cards, the solar panels, and the car. And then Barbara and I would have to go live in a house, I mean, an apartment. And we're very private people. I mean, we say hi to our neighbors, but we're not exactly, you know, where the neighbors are gathering for anything. We enjoy, hey, good morning, how are you? And there's not a whole lot besides that. So we really enjoy each other's company in that way. And I couldn't imagine my wife, moving into an apartment, and it just like, wow, I don't know how that's going to work. LifeWave shows up. And you know, Barbara had she was the original one patch wonder. When Gayla Wall called me on June 10th, 2021, and told me about her husband and his inflammation, and I knew Eddie he's a big guy, 6'5", oh gosh, 250, 260, a bricklayer, and she said that he got back to work. We had found these patches that dealt with stem cells. And I said, patches? What do you mean patches? And she told me, and we bought at the time, the silver package for $2.99, I think. And all we purchased were 3X39s. I told her, you know, I think it sounded too good to be true. We'll give it a shot. Had no idea. June 14th, the day before they arrived, my partner here, my lovely wife Barbara, was on the couch in sobbing boo-hoo tears. Okay, just flat out bawling. She had a chronic wrist, and on that day she hit a wall. And my wife also worked at Walmart for 13 years. She was dedicated to a fault. I would say, Barb, you got to slow down. You can't do it. She said, I love my job. I said, on the tombstone, it's going to say she gave it all to Walmart. Okay. I mean, we had these conversations, I'll call them. And, you know, but my wife wouldn't listen to me, you know, she one track mind, and that's fine. And so, so that day, sobbing tears. Next day, X39 shows up. We put them on June 15th. And 4 hours later, Barbara says, I'm going to go see how my hip is. I'm like, whatever, okay. Comes out of the bedroom, tears of joy. 7-year chronic hip pain was gone. And I'm like, gone? She goes, yeah, my hip pain's gone. I was like surprised. Said, wow, isn't that strange? 2 days later, tearful chronic wrist pain was gone too. And I'm like, she says, my wrist pain's gone. And I'm like, what? Again, no idea what we have tapped into. I wouldn't have believed you, all of the things I've seen, all of the things we've experienced, you know, and I want to say all of this, and I'm going to take a David Schmidt line. It's certainly by the grace of God that I'm simply the vessel that he used to deliver this to as many people as I've been fortunate. And all of the doors of success is simply his grace on me. And at this point in my life, I can't give you a reason why that took place, but I will tell you, like I said, I was working 50, 60, 70 hours, really didn't have a lot of friends at the time. I had stopped playing golf with my buddies on Saturday morning because they were at the golf course at 7 a.m. And I said, are we going fishing or are we playing golf? I said, 7 a.m. I mean, we'd have to get up at 5 a.m. and I don't get up at 5 a.m. Drive an hour somewhere. And I just, and if I don't sleep right, I play terrible golf. And you play enough terrible golf, you just stop playing golf. Okay. Like, hey, I'm going to go play somewhere at 8 or 9 o'clock local, have a nice. So I stopped playing golf. And like I said, really had a very limited warm market, so to say. But I believe that, and then the day after the last presidential election, my guy, 2020, my guy he won, and they took down my 2020, they took down my page. And I remember saying to Barbara, I said, listen, they still censor and shadow ban me. And my belief, my thought is they're not going to stop the will of God, whoever this is supposed to get this. Okay. My job is to carry the message. He delivers it. And then from there, it's all in his, that's all I can do. If I can get the patches to you and give you directions on how to do those. So out of that maybe group on my one Instagram page, I have 4 of them. I love certain things about our country that I'm in favor of, and you know, so I enjoy kind of finding out. Came Charlene Cole, who is now Charlene Saylor, who was my second senior presidential director. Charlene has found a in with the Amish. And it's been really kind of unique and interesting to watch. She puts in a lot of time, just like I did, you know, in the beginning of building this. And so that was a plus. I worked with an influencer on Instagram that I was able to work out a deal basically. And I still am doing this with some other people. And the way I've kind of worked out the deal is for every, so I got a chiropractor and he's over in on US 19. And he said to me, he said, I want to do what you do. I said, what's that? He said, he picks up his phone and goes, work from my phone, because that's all I need is, this. And but the deal is basically out of every 4 people that I would talk to, I'm going to keep one for myself, okay? And I'm not going to keep your best friend or some rock star that you want. I'm just looking for one. And the agreement with the influencer worked out pretty well in her favor, and it was pretty substantial as far as the amount of hourly rate that she was getting as a result of my efforts in customer service with a lot of people. So that kind of went on for a year and a half. She's still an SPD. Charlene's an SPD. Catherine Engstrom, who I originally talked with, kind of got started a little later when she realized, hey, I can make in LifeWave in a week what I can make in a month or even a year. And the organization she was with, and things just really for me in that capacity took off. 4 months in, getting back to Barbara and what happened. She had we were out having dinner, and Barbara had suffered from diverticulosis for 40 plus years. Every couple of weeks she'd eat a tomato or a cucumber or a small seed, whatever, and she'd spend the day in the bathroom or the bedroom. She wasn't going to work. Well, she had one kernel of corn, and she saw it going on and thought, oh, it's just a kernel of corn, I'll eat it. And she was in bed for 7 days. And I asked her if she wanted to go to the hospital. She said no. Well, 4 months in, we were out having dinner. And again, we only got the X39 for her chronic wrist and hip. We didn't know of any other possibilities of what could happen. And we were having what we thought was seafood chowder. And the server said, no, that's corn chowder. We both looked at each other like, oh my God. So Barbara had no reaction. She still today eats whatever she wants. There's never been another reaction. 5 months in, we were watching the podcast, and someone came on and talked about AFib. And for all of our time together, 40 plus years, every couple of weeks, Barbara would say, I got to sit down. My heart's out of whack. And I said to her, I said, you haven't said nothing about your heart in 5 months. She said, I forgot all about it. 15 months in, she's at the doctor's, and the doctor said, hey, that thyroid medication that she'd been taking for 10 years, he said, keep taking it. Those numbers are perfect. She said, Doc, I haven't taken those in 5 months. So progressive wise, as far as what's worked for her and what's happened, she's continually gotten better with things that were going on. I had black hair growing in my eyebrow in the first week. I remember looking in the mirror and thinking, man, I got black hair. Like, what the heck? I again, I didn't physically have anything wrong. My health was in, good shape. Maybe my cholesterol was a little high, but I worked out every other day. I still do. And I tell people, apparently I got better looking, according to my before and after pics. And I didn't think I was a bad looking guy, but if you look at where I was and where I'm at, things certainly changed. And that's my claim to fame. But I will tell you, with my wife, the things that have taken place for her have been nothing short of a miracle or just incredible. The things that we had happen to us. We paid off all of our debt in a year and a half by the grace of God. And I'll never forget talking to the mortgage lady on paying off the second mortgage. And she said, Mr. Homberg, do you realize you have 28 years left on your mortgage? I didn't know. I mean, maybe it was my ignorance of the bills, but I go to work, I give the money to my wife, she pays the bills, and long as we're not late, whatever, we do that. And eventually you kind of figure, hey, we're going to get caught up and paid off. Well, 28 years, I don't think would have ever been on the radar for the second mortgage, let alone the first mortgage. And so those finances have continued to grow. I will tell you that along the way, I've been very fortunate with Dr. Stacy being her number one enroller and her number one income earner. And the one thing that she said to me 6 months ago, whatever, we talk from time to time. She's busy, I'm busy. We have a mutual respect and love for each other. Is that we hit the ground running, okay? I mean, revenue producing activity is very important. I kind of discovered along the way, this is a book by Florence Scovel Shinn, a lady that I connected the dots with. I've gone through the 66 books of the Bible 17 years in a row. And Florence basically talks about scripture, and she put it together in a way for me that I was able to connect the dots and basically use some affirmations that I really believe opened the door from the divine to me, that have opened other doors of success in people that I never seem to run out of. And it's all by his grace that these things have happened. The other one, I can't find it. John Maxwell, I'm reading, Maxwell Daily Reader. This is another great one, The Master Key. And I'll never forget telling Dr. Stacy, I said, Stace, I'm too busy to read. I mean, and today I wish I could have gotten some of that back, but I'm looking for the other one by Florence called The Game of Life. And I still read it. I have affirmations that I've really kind of committed to. And I remember reading somewhere that what I do between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. takes care of what I do from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay. And I remember I've kind of had some insomnia a little bit that we're kind of working through. It's not going to sleep. It's waking up and getting back to sleep. And I told Barbara, I said, I can't get out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning. And even though, I mean, I could take as much time as I want off, and it's still, the income keeps coming. I'm just committed to a certain style of work ethic that I can't just roll out of bed at 8 a.m. and I got to get up early. I got to read my affirmations. The Book of Life is the one with Florence Shinn. The Master Key System is one. This one's called The Magic Path of Intuition. And I really think there were certain things that I've incorporated into what my life today that are all divinely inspired, have opened the door. I connected with a guy tonight, a guy tonight that I worked with 50 years ago, who was a county executive in Baltimore County, Maryland. And I'll never forget, I went to see him and with no appointment. And he said, yeah, have him come in. And my father said, that people have to, make appointments weeks and all, just to see Dennis, and you show up. And so I've connected. I don't know what his condition of his life is, but he's certainly someone who I knew at the time, knew a boatload of people. And I'm meeting with a guy tomorrow because I've really been kind of praying and asking the Lord, to send me either another Dr. Stacy, another April Vaughn, another Ron Rayburn, or another Marcy Preble, because I know we didn't break the mold after those people. And I know there's influencers out there that I can work with and build, because my goal really is to get into the top 20, top 10. And then Barbara always says top 2. And I said, hold on, David Jumper's number 1, 20 years ahead, and at least. But for us, it's been incredible. And I'll never forget the phone call from Geraldo when he said, hey, I just want you to know you're now in the elite, you're an elite SPD. I said, Geraldo, what does that mean? He said, "Well, you're one of you're in the top 30 income earners in the world." And I'm like, "You sure you got the right Gary?" I mean, because I don't think of myself as anything, you know. I go to work. Yeah, I got a fancy car, and I love driving it. And yeah, it's, you know, and I remember being in Mexico, and it kind of hit me. I thought, you know what? I got the job, I got the girl, I got the car, I got the income. I don't know if my life could be any better. I got people that look up to me. I'm honored and thrilled, and try to return, and I get to donate to people. You know, my cousin, you know, wanted $100. I said, "Oh, I sent you 1,000." She goes, "Why?" I said, I put one more zero in there by mistake. Like, haha. I mean, I'm glad I can do. I'm writing a tithing check tonight for more than I used to make in corporate America in a week. I'm glad to give. It's just I enjoy doing that, and we've been blessed like I had no idea was ever on the radar. I think that's kind of the story. Hold on. One last thing, Superman. Okay. So just so you know, wasn't planned, wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna brand myself to be super. Now my favorite character growing up. Okay, I enjoyed the original Superman, and so 9 months in, we're using the X-39. David comes out with the X-49. I'm still working, you know, for whoever, and I said to Barbara, I said, David said that usually the last 10 years of a senior's life are the worst. I want to make them the best. And I thought that was commendable. He said, this will build muscle strength, stamina, and recovery, even if you don't work out. And so in February of 2022, I said to Barbara, I said, look, I'm going to start jogging again. I used to run 2.5 miles. I stopped. Life changed. Everything changed. Kind of got away from it, lost some weight, but I enjoy doing it. And again, business is kind of blowing up. I'm on the phone 10, 11, 12 hours a day. And you know, hey, it's what I signed up for. But we laid the groundwork, you know, of building a income that again is mind-boggling for us. And so I said to Bar, I couldn't get in the run 100 yards, walk 100, run two. Well, you know, I couldn't get in the pre-work. So finally, I said to her, I said, look, I'm going to go jog 2.5 miles. I'll see you when I get back. Okay. So no warm up, no prior, whatever. 70 years old, 95% of it I did. I didn't set any land or speed record. I got back and I thought, you know what? I didn't know anybody I could call up and say, hey, you want to go jog 2.5 miles with me? They'd have thought I was crazy. And I've been doing it ever since, and I enjoy doing it. And sometimes I actually run at night with a flashlight because I can't seem to get it in the day. And I'll say to Barbara, look, now I've had 4 falls with that. The last one, I went, you know, because the sidewalk sometimes is uneven and you don't always catch it. But the last one, man, I went down on my right side and I thought I broke a rib. And I said, oh, great. I mean, but it was pretty much bruised for about 2 weeks. So that's kind of why we're, you know, Superman. And I had a guy who said, why don't you make your car Superman? And I said, Steve, hold on. I said, I don't know about a car with super. That's a pretty big billing to live up to every day. The guy that our optometrist, who also said probably next examiner that we get, we probably won't need glasses because our eyes continue to improve. Had two. There was a guy in his development that had 2 Corvettes and 2 Suburbans with advertising. So I put that on the Corvette, and it really turned out a whole lot better than I expected. And everyone loves it. The kids love it. And hey, can I take a picture? So it's, you know, it's a convertible. I really enjoy the convertible. And our things are going so good. I reached out to the dealership and I'm looking for a 2025 that I'm either going to get in red or yellow and come up with a whole new design. So that's the life that we're living here. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's great to help people build their business. I'm in an organization locally, and I'm the patch guy. And of course, it's too good to be true. And I'm slowly converting, members over because they're getting results. I mean, when you have results, you can't deny what's taking place.
Well, Gary, I can't imagine anyone that wouldn't be enthused after hearing what you have said, and the fact that so many people think, well, it can't happen for me. And like you said, you'd worked for 50 years and not hit the end of the rainbow, and now the pot of gold's there.
Yeah, it's been for us. Like I said, I went to work, and I always, I didn't go to work, but I will tell you the affirmations of what changed the mindset. And Barbara and I kind of got involved with this new way of thinking and talking last May when we were coming back. Matter of fact, we're looking at oceanfront property in North Carolina, and that's got one more digit in it than I ever thought would be anywhere possible for us. But it's in the radar because this is all I need. We love the sound of the Atlantic Ocean because they got they got 3, 4, 5 foot, 6 foot waves. Florida, we got little bathtub waves. Okay, I mean you get like a 1 footer, and that's what we get. So we enjoy the surf of it. And but yeah, I don't know where I was going. I lost my train of thought. But for us, the helping people and growing and the challenge of it, I guess too, is pretty interesting.
So explain to people what it takes to become an elite SPD. I mean, I know what it is, but a lot of people don't know that. Share that with them.
Well, and LifeWave's coming out with a new comp plan that's going to be, I'm telling you, the bonus is that I believe $25, $50, and $100,000 last time I was informed, and I haven't signed any non-disclosure, but we were kind of told that. I think they realize that finding people who will go to work is a challenge. We have the best comp plan in the industry. We have one of the most gifted, godly geniuses. If God ever broke a mold after anyone, had to be David Schmidt. There can't be two of them. What an incredible guy. We're going on vacation with him in June to Switzerland. So that's going to be fun. That's kind of what one of the elite thing is. One of the elite trips that we're going on. So they treat you, and I tell people, if you produce for LifeWave, they will treat you like royalty. I mean, I have never been treated so well in any corporate job, and I had success with Marriott hotels and Hyatt hotels and Club Corp, second largest golf and country club company in the world. They don't hold a candle to what these people will do for you. And the adulation and love from Meredith Burkage, from Janine, the senior vice president, Garrett Johnson, what a big teddy bear, Geraldo. I mean, these are people that are just as amazing as David Schmidt. Working with someone and doing something that is changing lives. And you've seen what I've seen of people with god-awful conditions. I mean, pain and illness. And they put on a sticker that no one believes. And you know what? Drink some water and things just turn around that never thought possible. So to get to Elite SPD, you need 2 senior presidential directors producing $100,000 of volume each. And the third, the other one that I'm working on is the third production, and that's Barbara. And that's where I'm God's opening doors to some incredible people that have the connections to basically bring, large groups of people in. And the other thing that comes with that Elite SPD, there's a pool where they basically take, I think it's either 3% or 1% of all that LifeWave earns, and the upper echelon, if you will, that I've been blessed to be a part of, share in that pool, and then it's in addition to the to the commissions and the payouts that they give you.
Well, it's amazing, and I know that I don't know anyone's had any questions, but we could ask it. You have
Yes.
it covered. Carol,
There's-
go ahead.
There's someone in the chat, someone is asking about the X39.
Okay. And what would they like to know?
Let's me read that.
You gave a personal testimony on an X39, but then did just the business? Usually patches are covered each.
No, there's someone that came in a few minutes late, and she'd like to hear more about the X39 and other products.
Well, we try to keep it simple. When we started, the only product we offered was the X39. That's what got us to where we are. And then as we basically, kind of stuck with, the business, there was the one side of thought, the school of thought that one team uses, where it's only X39, and then you have Team Evolve with Dr. Stacy and Marcy and April, where we use the Eon and the X39. So when I'm putting together a package, typically a core package, a starter kit, if you will, I'll say, this is what I started with. And we've kind of built it a little differently. And hold on, I think, what is the question? They want to know, what's the question?
They just kind of like to know how the X39 works, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. So, well, I mean, so when we put the patch on, 10 years of research, 90 double blind, mostly independent peer review and, peer review studies. And what's interesting about that, those were done at places like Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Stanford, USC. David did this at the University of Ireland, which is the #1 stem cell facility in the world, 10 years of research. Which is a long time, that he came up with the idea of what the X39 can do. And the idea was, first of all, he found that from a Dr. Lauren Picard, that the through reverse aging, that the GHK copper peptide goes dormant as we age. Dr. Picard did 50 years of research with that. 5,000 clinical tests. David thinks he should have got a Nobel Prize for medicine, and that was released in 1973. Now, if you go to PubMed and I'll look up GHKCU, there are 13 pages of it. And if you were just to look at the bullet points of what GHK does, that in itself will blow your mind. Now, what took care of Barbara in the beginning was GHKCU. It wasn't the reactivation of pluripotent cells, I'll call them, for the sake of being correct on what they're asking us to do. But there were 70 patents where they came up activating stem cells, part of their post. And let me see if I can find that, what LifeWave did. And so what happens with that is that, so LifeWave invested 10 years into stem cell research, which resulted in 70 patents. Okay, that's kind of the corporate version of what they like to say. And basically the GHK copper peptide, which the skincare industry calls the fountain of youth peptide. I'll take 2 of those, please. And yeah, fountain of youth, are you kidding? So that elevates I think it's called the P63 gene, and that one gene turns on 4,200 cells, genes, if you will, and that's basically where all the reactivation, regeneration takes place. And the recommendation is to wear the X39 for 1 month for every decade you're alive. And what's in the patch isn't what basically starts any kind of, the body is what heals itself, not the patch. The patch actually reflects our own light that we give off, our own energy, back into our body at the perfect frequency, just like all of them do. And David has found a way to have that not only elevate the GHK copper peptide that also goes dormant as we age, but also reactivate a certain number of genes that go to work in compound and basically start the body in a process. So we get to basically restore our body internally to an age like we were were when we were children, teenagers, and 20-something, when everyone on here was pretty much bulletproof, right? We went day and night. You know, we got a couple of Kansas City Chiefs wearing these. And even these guys, world champions, could have anything money could buy. They're wearing a $3.30 a day patch. Why? Because they've tried it and it's worked for them, and they feel like they have more energy. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't want to live longer, look younger, feel better, have more energy. I love the energy. I mean, I've been up since whatever time. I played golf today with some guys. I was the oldest guy there. Barbara said, "How'd you do?" I said, "I was the best golfer." You know, I mean, it's just kind of how it worked. I wasn't bragging, but this is a group that I belong to, and I'm the patch guy, and I'm kind of the newbie. And I'm the guy driving this fancy car. So, you know, people kind of can be judgmental, I believe. And so I think I kind of won 3 friends over with my golf play and my demeanor on the golf course.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, and this is a God thing.
Yeah.
There's-
Oh, no doubt about it.
and God intended the body to heal itself. And I love how David picked the tree of life phrase and got the formulas for patches. And, you know, it's also just amazing. So we appreciate you coming on. We'll, you know, when you become a quadruple elite, we'll have you back. Okay.
My parting words would be to continue to ask God for guidance and to open doors, to have whatever affirmation, you know, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I'm perfect, I'm whole, I'm gifted, I'm godly, I'm loving, and I'm loved. You know, that was one that took me in, and I'm perfect. They were a little bit hard for me to kind of say because, you know, I am far from perfect, but there's parts of my mind that believe what I tell it. So we really stay away from we try to, okay? We try to stay away from negative stuff. We've kind of turned off the news locally. We watch maybe the weather because the vibration and the mindset is key to basically, I believe, God opening doors for us. Well, Jesus said, with your tongue, or let's see, by your words you are justified, by your words you're condemned. The power of life and death is in the tongue. So we really, and what I was going to say, coming back last year on vacation, I even said to Barbara, I said, you know, if we're not criticizing or complaining about something, it's kind of hard to have a conversation. But what happens over time is you start talking about more God glorifying things, and you start talking about more positive things that are going to basically help open doors to other gifts that are available. And I got a guy on my team, not going to mention any names, but I've been pleading with him. And today he was talking about, and the glass is always half empty. I said, you know, I'll call him Mike. I said, Mike, no, the glass half full. And he's got a couple of things happening, and I'll say, they're going to happen. Well, we'll see. No, they're going to happen. Okay. You got to believe that it's going to happen, because whatever we ask for in prayer and believe we're going to get it, it'll come true. It took me a long time to do that, and I thank Dr. Stacy for the books. I'm grateful to God for the blessings. We're living our best life, and it was never on the radar. Total surprise.
Attitude determines altitude.
So important, really is, you know. And the old adage, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything. Gratitude brings success. Complaint brings failure. And I'll say to Barbara, honey, don't bring it to you, because her mother used to say, don't bring it to you. You know, so we really, really try to stay. And again, it's all scripture. A lot of it is scripturally based. So get to live a life. And again, the water machine's coming, the documentary's coming. We're at the right place at the right time with the right company, with the right product, the right ownership. Things couldn't have been lined up any better. It's, as you said, it's divinely inspired.
Well, we're going to let everyone, we appreciate their time, and we don't want to abuse their time. We've gone on here, and we can go on for hours, though. I love to listen to you because you are a world of blessing and a fountain of youth. Okay.
I feel
Daniel?
Yes.
Daniel, May I just tell Gary and Barbara how thankful I am for them? Gary, we met y'all at a little event Stacy was having. We were brand new. Wes and Sunny Wessel had just recruited us in and shared with us the little Band-Aid patch. And we said, we're going to Florida. We had no idea what we were doing. We saw your car pass us as we were going to the event. We were laughing and having fun with it. You were pulled up at the event. We got to hear you and spend time and meet y'all. It really made a difference. And I want to tell y'all how grateful we are and thankful.
Oh,
And I love that you are passionate, that you're thankful for whatever God has in your life and the inspiration that you have been to us and to so many. So on behalf of the Tinglers, thank you.
my pleasure. Thank you so much. And we're going to be somewhere else again. And hey, we're here to help anyone that we can. And thank you for that. I'm glad that, but you know, when you love what you do, it's not work. And I could do this, like I said, very fortunate to have Dr. Stacy in our team. So appreciate that.
We're
A lot of fun.
we're thankful for your friendship. And listen, folks, you ought to come down to Orlando in July, because I think that he's probably going to drive over from Tampa. And at any rate, it's a great time when we get together.
Yeah.
Dr. Stacy and Marcy put that together, and it's well worth your time. It's a blessing to go and meet
Yeah.
these people, because here's the thing: no one on here is a superstar.
No.
Everyone starts out just like you and I do, and so that's the great part about it. So, anyone else want to say? Make one last comment?
Dale,
Yes.
Debbie has one more. There is something so fun. Gary, you pointed out about being in an environment that's positive and uplifting. That was also, Dale, what I will say you benefit from at these events. It just feels good to be around people that are having a good time. So again, thank y'all. And come to Florida with us.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to end this, and it has been recorded, and so we'll get the link to you so you can share it with your friends. And I think it's well worth the time. Gary, we love you.
Love
We
you.
thank Barbara. Thank you for supporting him and being a blessing to him and us. And we will see you on the flip side.
Look forward to it. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank
Appreciate
Good
it.
night, Gary.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thanks, Gary.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.